Hello and welcome to a special impromptu Underdog Fantasy Best Ball live stream. My name is Adam Levitan. I'm one of the co-founders here at Establish the Run, and I was going to do a Dalmation draft this afternoon, a fast one, and I figured why not stream it? So I'm gonna go ahead and register right now. This is a $101 buy-in, 30K to first. You can see here, the payout structure is relatively flat. First 30K, second 20K, third 15K here, and then smaller final, obviously. The kind of tournament that I like to play. Looks like we need a few more people to get in here, so I'll spend a minute here just talking about game selection for best ball for a second, the way I think of it. So for me, I think there's an advantage to drafting as close to week one as possible. I think that we have the most information. I think my ability to digest what happens in training camp is better than my opponents. I think that when it gets to late August and September, there are way more casual people that don't understand best ball strategy, that don't understand the difference between best ball and home leagues. And we talked on the podcast. Hopefully, you listened to the podcast yesterday. We talked about how important it is to get healthy players, to not take zeros late in the season. And so, already we have injuries, right? Juwan Johnson, Gus Edwards is banged up. There's all kinds of things that are going to happen in August that will make it less likely that we can get healthy players. So I think that my best strategy is for now here in June to play contests that I think are going to fill relatively soon. And this Dalmatian certainly counts, right? Like I think Herzig calls them time box contests, right? Where it's not going to go all the way to week one. The ones that are going to go all the way to week one, drafts will happen all the way to week one. I'm waiting on, and that includes some of the higher stake stuff like the 555s. I think Underdog has a 1K and a 500. I'll try to do those very late in the process. So in the meantime, I'm doing low stakes lotto stuff as practice. And I'm doing stuff like this, time box, $100 entry. So yeah, that's the way I think about game selection for this, the tournaments that I'm trying to play right now. I have, of course, uploaded our rankings here. These are our latest rankings. We're constantly making tweaks. We made a tweak just this afternoon with our tight end ranks overall. We tweaked already off of the Juwan Johnson stuff, and we did make tweaks on Gus Edwards as well. Just on the Gus Edwards stuff, like I think he's going to be fine. I think the injury is fine, but I wanted to get us a little bit behind ADP here, just out of fear that they're going to add someone. Because I think when you have J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards, you almost have to consider adding someone. All right, happy to take any questions before we get started here. It says, Andrew says, Adam, in a tournament like this, is correlation more or less important? I think less. In these smaller field ones, I don't worry about it. If I happen to run into a week 17 spot where I can get correlation, or a week 16 where I can get correlation, that is fine, but I'm not going out of my way whatsoever to do it. I would really recommend everyone go back and watch the video on the clock that me, Herzig, and Leone did. There's also an article on ETR about that, like basically what we're thinking when we're on the clock, what the priority are. And week 17 is in there, but it is not the number one priority. In fact, it's one of our lower ones. All right. I'm going to be picking at pick number 7 here in this draft. Certainly fine with pick 7. Honestly, like the way that I felt so far is I don't love picking the later in round 1 the worst, just because that round 2 tier is so flat to me. And so, the difference between getting, say, Marvin Harrison or Chris Olave versus waiting, and getting Ayuk or Neighbors or Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle or whatever it is, not that great. So considering the flat tier in round 2/3, I like picking a little bit closer to the front here. All right. I am far from an Underdog reg, so I don't recognize a ton of people here. I think Dave here is our social media maven, Dave Arago, very successful player. Roto Run, I believe, is John. I think he is in here, so we have some regs in here for sure. We will see how it goes. All right. I'm intimidated by the user Bitcoin in the 1.02. Yes. I see people with license plates all the time that say like TY ETH or TY BTC. It's so funny. There's just like a whole generation of people out there. Oh, what would you do to get rich? I bought some fake internet money. All right. So I'm on the clock here. Certainly going to stick with our ranks. Love the spot for Bijan this year. Have no problem on Underdog. Going with a hero RB build whatsoever. I feel worse about it on DraftKings where wide receivers are just so dominant. But here on Underdog with half PPR and no bonuses, certainly fine going Bijan, who I think is going to be an absolute smash this year, finally getting used uh, in the correct fashion. Dave took him on Raw here. No surprises so far. I totally fine with Brees Hall. If this was full PPR, I would probably go AJ Brown over Brees Hall here, but totally fine with Brees in half. See, this is the spot that gives me a lot of trouble. You know, Gibbs, I'm not that comfortable with here at the turn, but Gibbs, London start, certainly fine. But this is the spot where, like, man, I wish getting the pick 12 stinks because the difference between Gibbs and London to me and the guys that you get here at 23, 26 or 22, 27, not that big a difference in my opinion. John with the Garrett Wilson Olave start, certainly like that. AJ Brown, Marvin Harrison start. No problem whatsoever. This is 18 rounds, half PPR for those of you guys who are not familiar. By the way, before we get too much further here, I should say, Best Ball subscription is $39.99. It is indeed live. If you're playing Best Ball, it seems crazy to me not to get the package for $39.99. Talk more about that in a second. All right, back to us on the clock here. Davante Adams is our highest ranked player. Saquon is the one by ADP. I do not want to start RB whatsoever. So I will go ahead with our top wide receiver here in Davante Adams. All right, so we have started Bijan Davante. Dave goes with Nico Collins here. If you were worried that Davante Adams is falling off a cliff and you wanted to take Nico or Jalen Waddle over Davante Adams, I wouldn't kill you for it. I just think given their teammates, the only one of these trio of guys that can actually get to a 30% target share is Davante. Obviously, I have concerns about quarterback, you know, AOC and Gardner Minshew, but Davante Adams is like the kind of alpha that can really dominate weeks. Certainly no problem with Nico or Jalen Waddle, though. One thing with Jalen and I talked about on Market Monday is you do get the contingent upside. I think this is fine at 20 overall standalone, but you also get if something happens to Tyreek. I mean, Jalen will just go absolutely nuts. As always in these best ball underdog drafts, extremely wide receiver heavy start. Extremely. And one thing about taking Bijan, like I love Bijan, but man, there are some good picks, in my opinion, at the running back position through like this 42, 55, 66 range, places like that, where I'm going to be less likely to be able to take a running back. But yeah. So 2 running backs in the first 3 picks here for Jay, Girth, CMC, and Derrick Henry. Don't have a huge problem with it, but I'll be curious what he does from there. You don't want to get too boomered out. Like I might be thinking about if I started like this, CMC and Derrick Henry, I might be thinking about a 4 running back build, which is something that we talked about on the podcast that went up today. All right. Quarterback, I love being aggressive at quarterback on Underdog, but this is going to be too early for me there. Don't think I want Kyron, although I'll put him in the queue given I already have Mr. Bijan. Tank Dell I like a lot. And yeah, I'm going to pass on the tight end there. So we are on the clock here. Tank Dell or Kyron. I think structurally I need wide receiver here, and I'm going to go with my favorite one, which is Tank. I understand that ADP preferred Cooper Cup. Michael Pittman, maybe Zay Flowers, but yeah, I have concerns about all those guys. Obviously, the way Cup looked last year, we're pretty far behind ADP on him on rank. I like Michael Pittman, and maybe I could have set up a Michael Pittman, Anthony Richardson stack here, but man, Anthony Richardson was shaky as a thrower last year, and I think this Colts team is going to be pretty run heavy in the red zone. Underdog is very touchdown heavy. So as we go back to the board here, yeah, I mean, I think Kyron at 34 and also Arizona Rams, I believe, playing week 17. I mean, that's a fine start there from Delicious Grizzly, I think. H-Chan at 29 is strong too, setting up a little bit of Miami stuff here. I don't love taking Stroud, but I'm going to add him to the queue here. My next pick will be here at 42. The thing about, like, I love Jalen Hurts. The thing about taking Jalen Hurts once Devontae and AJ Brown are gone, you don't have them, is the stacking partners get real weak. They don't throw to the third wide receiver very much. I like Goddard, but I'd rather have one of the wide receivers there with him. I think easy pass for me on this tier of running backs at my next pick here. I will throw these two into the mix as touchdown scorers for when it comes back around. Certainly interested in continuing to step on the gas at wide receiver. Yeah, Pickens and Amari are two that we're a little bit lower on. So I know there's been a lot of debate about tight end lately. I do agree that these first 7 tight ends are really strong relative to previous years, and the back end of tight end, especially after we lost Juwan Johnson to this foot surgery, the back end of tight end is weaker. So, yeah, I mean, I don't love Kelsey, but yeah, we're getting pretty late here. And Mahomes, I believe, is still available. And then I love McBride, Andrews, Kincaid. I think I like Pitts. I think all these guys are pretty strong. So Josh Allen, Lamar, Hurts all go here. Back to me at pick 42. Gonna stay on the gas here. I think there's a bit of a teardrop after Christian Kirk here, and I do like setting up Trevor Lawrence stacks. I think we have him as a really good value, so I'm gonna go Christian Kirk here. Sorry, I'm not paying attention to the chat. I can't tech lord both. I have multiple screens up here, but definitely will hang out after the draft and get to some questions. All right. Oh, I need to finish my rant about the best ball. So our best ball product, we purposely priced it at a really affordable price, $39.99. We do have continuously updating rankings. Like as soon as Juwan Johnson goes down, we are updating the rankings for that. We do that for every single site. We also have site specific content. It is part of the best ball package and a ton of context around all these rankings, weekly Q&A with Leone Herzig does streams like this for premium subscribers every Tuesday. So yeah, $39.99. If you're playing best ball at all, strikes me as insane not to buy it. Just head to establishtheRun.com/subscribe. All right. So I started with Bijan and 3 straight wide receivers here. You see a bit of a tight end run starting to go here. Laporta, Kelsey, Andrews, Pitts. Ideally don't want to get left out in the cold here, but given the smaller size of this tournament, I would be okay cobbling something together later at tight end, but we'll see how it goes. Worthy, ETN. Yeah, that's a good pick there. McBride was the one that I was pretty interested in to set up a McBride Kyler stack, which is one that I really like. So a little frustrated there to lose out on McBride. Dave, I'm sure, is watching this stream and knows exactly what I'm doing. He goes ahead and takes Josh Jacobs. So yeah, if I had taken Pittman there instead of whoever I took, Tank Dell, I could have Anthony Richardson here, and that would probably be pretty strong. Um, and maybe that would have been better. But as played, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure I get elite tight end here and go Dalton Kincaid. You know, the thing about drafting Josh Allen and the guy who drafted Josh Allen, let me see, yeah, has no bills. The stacks are hard. I like Kincaid, Samuel, Shakir, Keon Coleman. I think they're kind of all being overdrafted a little bit. So I end up with a lot of Josh Allen, James Cook, which doesn't feel great. So I love Josh Allen always, especially on Underdog, where quarterback is so important. But God, he's difficult to stack a little bit, I think. All right. So we have 0131 going here. I'm going to go ahead and put Stroud and Trevor Lawrence in the queue. I'll add Kirk Cousins to the mix here as well, just so that we know we have him with Bijan. Not ideal, but certainly can do it with Bijan. I think, the correlation isn't like massive, but it's not negative either. If Kirk Cousins has a good year and the offense is doing well, Bijan's going to score a ton of touchdowns. I would consider Anthony Richardson if he gets back to me. Dude is just, a boss. All right, so this is kind of my point. As we get in here at running back, I don't want to be boxed out from like being able to take these guys. Like, I think Mixon, Rashad, Kenneth Walker are all interesting at their price. Rome, Hopkins. I can set up the Jacksonville stack here with Brian Thomas if needed. You notice we're flipped here on Hopkins versus Ridley. A lot of underlying stats that point towards Hopkins being the better bet and better player. Even at his age, did talk about that on Market Monday a bit. There goes DeAndre Hopkins to the Grizzly one. All right, back to me. Jacob Bay took Keon Coleman. So, I think a lot of people's instinct here would be running back. I like Rashad White. I like Kenneth Walker. I think better is to set up the Trevor Lawrence double here, get me access to some rookie. I know I'm going a little bit ahead of ADP, but based on our ranks, I'm right in line there. So set up the Jacksonville double here, at least hope to. But yeah, I mean, and could have gone CJ Stroud there as well. Just CJ Stroud, like competing with Anthony Richardson and the rushing quarterbacks is just so hard for him to compete. He has to be outrageously efficient. I'm not saying he can. I actually think that he kind of will, but you have to be so efficient and have so much volume as a pocket passer when competing with Allen, Hurts, Lamar, Richardson. And not that he's necessarily like competing per se, uh, because he goes so much later, or he goes a couple rounds later, but still. I do think, on when I play this style of format, FanDuel has the same scoring system as Underdog. Quarterback just such a huge part of your score every week. And since it's 18-man rosters here, not 20, I mean, just securing elite quarterback play does matter. So maybe I should have gone with that Pittman Richardson route or considered Stroud there. All right. Certainly plenty of running backs to chew on. I've been taking a lot of Najee, certainly. Still no word on the Rashee Rice length of suspension, which, yeah, really interested in that. I had heard that at least 4 games. I know other people had reported half the season. I'm not sure on Rashee Rice, man, but gosh, in formats, like best ball, where the end is so much more valuable, certainly think Rashee Rice is an option. All right, as we move here to 79 overall, no problem whatsoever in a touchdown heavy format taking Dave Montgomery, similar to where I was taking him at the end of last year. I mean, I was taking Dave Montgomery like every time when he got to the 8th or ninth round, I think it was last year, and here at 7.7, still able to get him. I don't think the situation has changed that much. Like, we are projecting Jahmyr Gibbs to have a better role, but there's no reason that Dave Montgomery can't still score a ton of touchdowns. Yeah, so the guy who started CMC, Derrick Henry, no more running backs after that. Certainly like that. I think it'd be a mistake to do that and then start taking more running backs. And now we're in the running back run portion of the draft. A lot of running backs coming off the board. My next pick will be at pick number 90 here. Certainly like Burrow and Dak a lot. Burrow is tough with T and Chase already gone. You can do Dak if you know if you don't have Lamb, I think, but then you kind of have to force it here with Cooks and Ferguson, who are a little bit behind on. So don't really love that either. Love Kyler. Wish I would have gotten Trey McBride, man, because Kyler is such a boss. But again, stacking once you don't have Marvin Harrison and Trey McBride is really tough. With Kyler, I would still consider it though, as Kyler can get there with his legs, of course. Yeah, Zamir White, DeAndre Swift, certainly fine plays. And, there's tons more. Chase Brown, Tajee Spears, Charbonnet, Marshawn Lloyd, Kendry Miller. Like, I don't get worried about running back. We're certainly getting lighter at the wide receiver position here. One thing we talked about on last pod was the success the data had in 3 quarterbacks with 3 stacks. And that was for Best Ball Mania. But I have no problem whatsoever with 3 quarterback builds, on Underdog, even though it's only 18 rounds. Quarterback position, again, is so valuable. You need to smash there a ton. So I actually think I'm going to set up a backdoor Kyler here. We're pretty far past ADP. I don't have McBride or Harrison. But if we're talking about quarterbacks who can actually challenge to be top 3, you have to be able to run. And Kyler can certainly do that. He had a huge rushing season in his career. I know he's had a lot of injuries since then, but yeah. So I'm going to set up some Cardinals stuff here. All right. Dave went ahead and took Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton is not reported to Broncos camp. He thinks he thinks he deserves a new contract. Scored 10 touchdowns last year. Broncos, it's going to be tough to give him a new contract. I do think that as the alpha there, if Bo Nix is good and Sutton plays, which I think he will, I think it's interesting. And I've been doing a lot of Bo Nix backdoor stuff, especially in 20 round, DraftKings stuff. Bo Nix, McLaughlin, Mims, Troy Franklin. If Bo Nix is worthy of being the 12 overall pick in the draft, I think that's interesting stuff. The other backdoor I've been doing a lot lately is the Jets, Rodgers, Corley, Braylon Allen, Conklin. Just so many running backs through here. And I get the instinct is oh, everybody's kind of building teams the same, wide receiver early, elite tight end, try to get elite quarterback, running backs through here. That's kind of my point though, is that's the right way, in my opinion, to build. And come August and September, we're going to get people doing much weirder things. Burrow and Jordan Love go. All right. Yeah, Javonte, more of that Broncos stuff. It's at least interesting. Yeah, the Tony Pollard and Tajee Spears, I like both those. I like all this stuff here at running back. Brian Robinson, Chase Brown, Spears. There's just so many guys in this range that I like, and it just fits the way I build. Again, one injury away at running back is how you build super teams. Like get there to the finals and then have, I don't know, Chase Brown be the feature back. You're smashing. All right. Nothing great at wide receiver here for me. I do like Goddard, but this is a little bit early. So I don't mind taking running back here and start up with some Arizona stuff. Rookie running back, obviously. It's something I want to be on, especially given how old and the injury history of James Conner. So start with the Kyler Trey Benson here. Like I said, I think the correlation between those two isn't ideal, but it's not negative either. Yeah, this Jaden Daniels thing, like if I get to a spot where I'm at this part of the draft, round 9, I don't have a quarterback, I just immediately take Jaden Daniels because much like Kyler, he can actually finish. I think among the top 5 quarterbacks, he goes here in round 9, and you can set up a bunch of commander stuff. I mean, I don't love where Sinnett's going, but Brian Robinson, Eckler, Dotson, McCaffrey, and Sinnett all fit with Jaden Daniels. And you can have, a single stack Jaden Daniels. So that's one of my favorite things to do is if I get tied up at quarterback and I don't have anything I really like, I don't have any yet, Jaden Daniels backdoors is just a smash. All right, coming back to me here, we're going to be at pick 114. So the question is here, can I get Trevor Lawrence through here and try to get Trevor Lawrence back to me? Because who took Evan Ingram? I already have, where's Evan Ingram? Oh, here he is. Okay, Jay Girth has Evan Ingram. He took Jordan Love. I don't think I can risk it. I think I need, uh, I'd much rather have Spears or Chase Brown probably in a vacuum, but I don't think I can risk it here. So I'm going to go ahead with Trevor Lawrence. Now have Lawrence and Kyler as my quarterbacks. We'll see. Maybe I'll take one more super late, but obviously have Kyler and Trey Benson, Lawrence, Brian Thomas, Christian Kirk. So obviously, if I was thinking about week 16, week 17 correlation a lot, we have Jacksonville has Raiders in week 16 and Titans in week 17. So have the Devontae Adams with the Raiders for week 16. Spears would have fit, but he is gone now. And then Cardinals play the Rams, I believe, in week 17. Let me check who they play in week 16. Yeah, Rams in 17, Panthers in 16, and like that spot where like I don't really like the Panthers. I don't really like where their guys go. So I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to force the week 17 correlation there. All right, bunch of good picks here. Spears, Chase Brown, Jerome Ford, I think is interesting if Nick Chubb is indeed Dunzo, which I don't think he is, but I don't think people are taking his injuries quite serious enough. All right, running back, Corum, Sharbs, Chandler, Lloyd, Kendry. I would consider doing Algier here, even though I have Bijan in a smaller field thing. I can continue to add to the stack here with Gabe Davis. Wicks is very buzzy. I have no problem with him whatsoever. Yeah. I'm going to add to the wide receiver position here, continue to make a big bet on Trevor Lawrence and go with Gabe Davis. Now we have the Trevor Lawrence triple going, Kirk, Thomas, and Gabe. just retweeted something about how bad Trevor Lawrence ran last year. I mean, he should have had a much better year. And we started this process like 30 spots ahead of ADP on Trevor Lawrence. Now I think we're 10 or 12 or something like that. Yeah, I knew Wicks was going to go right after. Guy's just too buzzy right now. Dave had to go ahead and take Downs there. I do like Downs over 80 Mitchell, but I'm not like overly confident in that take. But yeah, he had Anthony Richardson there. Had to get one of those guys, Downs or Mitchell. We do have Downs ranked ahead. All right, so I have the 2-3-5-1 going right now. There goes Fryermuth. If you take Corley, you can set up the Rodgers stuff. If you take Polk, you can set up the Drake May. And those are the kind of quarterbacks once I have two like Kyler and T Law, where those are the kind of quarterbacks I want to spend just like a little bit on late. I wouldn't want to go necessarily reach for Cousins or anything like that when I expect Kyler and T Law to count for me most of the time. All right. On the clock here, to me, certainly could take Jahan Dotson here. Plenty of running backs left. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and take Dotson here and wait for one of these running backs. Hopefully not too many people are watching this stream and one of those running backs can get back to me at 151. Yeah, this Marshawn Lloyd. He was going like 160s, 170s, like not that long ago. I really like that one, Marshawn Lloyd. Dave goes ahead and takes Dowdle. Well, maybe this Dotson was a mistake. Doubt those running backs can get back to me. So we will go. Burton. Yeah, Musgrave is one that we need to look at because I mean he's going so high, but man, if Tucker Craft is really in trouble and Tucker Craft tore his pec, if Tucker Craft is really in trouble, Musgrave, I do like. Obviously, it's hard to tell right now. Tucker Craft sounds like he has a pretty good chance to be back for week one, but we'll see. Yeah, this running back situation got away from us a little bit here. Oh man, I really wanted Algier. Oh boy, and there goes Nick Chubb. Yeah, the running back situation got away from us. Running back situation got away from us. All right. Here at 152, I think we just need to take Gibson. God, I don't even like Gibson that much, especially on half PPR. Really wanted Algier to get back there so that I would know even if Bijan got hurt, we would have a smash. And then there's ways you can win with Bijan and Algier. Also, we looked at all the handcuffing stuff in best ball. There's an article up on the site about it, and it certainly can work. Maybe a little bit too much draft capital here with Bijan and Algier would have been, but yeah, that would have been my preferred route. Yeah, and Luke Musgrave goes right away to pretty sharp room here, I would say. Draft room, for what I can tell, without looking back at the teams too much. Yeah, people have gotten a little bit wiser on Hawkinson. He was going way too early before. I mean, I'm not sure when this guy is going to be back, Hawkinson, and exactly what he'll be able to do when he gets back. And that's kind of the same thing with Nick Chubb. But man, at pick 150, even if Nick Chubb only plays the final 6 games and he's, not himself until the last 3 of those, still probably worth it at pick 150. All right, swinging back around to me, I will be at pick 162. Certainly could take Cousins way past ADP if I wanted to. Still have, plenty of other options to go. Backdoor quarterbacking. Yeah, I mean, you can always do the Mims Knicks thing. You can always do the Wandale, Daniel Jones thing. The Daniel Jones thing scares me for benching late in the year, but those are always backdoor options that are certainly available. Oh my God, Michael Wilson went ahead of ADP. Jeez. Well, that's frustrating. Um, okay. Man, this is so far past ADP for Kirk Cousins, who is also our highest ranked player by a mile. I'm gonna go ahead with Kirk here and finish out my quarterback room. I think a pretty strong one. And then it also gives me some access to Rondale, who I think is okay in an emergency late pick. Maybe too much draft capital on quarterback here, but pick 90, 114, and 162. But I'm okay with it. I'm more upset that I let that running back get away from me a little bit here. All right. It's going to swing back to me here at pick 175. I'm going to need some tight end help here eventually. All right. Into the 15th round here. Yeah, that was pretty brutal, the Michael Wilson thing. I did not think that he would go in round 14. That would have been nice. Yeah, this you can do really cheaply too. What John did here, Justin Herbert, Quentin Johnston stuff, and you can also have Hayden Hurst late if you like him. You know, we think that the Chargers are going to be very run heavy. I think they want to be very run heavy, but Justin Herbert could still be really efficient when he throws. And it's not like their running game is going to a lock to be awesome either. Like they could struggle there, and Harbaugh and Romo could get tilted and be like, "Let's throw it. We have Justin Herbert. Let's throw it." The Quentin Johnson stuff was like unreal bad last year, but yeah, certainly that's why he's available. Why this stack is available so late. All right, McLaughlin, Bucky, Sinnott, Marvin Mims. Dave's on the clock. Don't time out, Dave. Dave timed out or took Chig. And so I haven't been taking a lot of Bateman unstacked. But I think this is an interesting spot to do so on a team where I could use a little bit more upside and diversification at the wide receiver position. So I will go with Bateman there at 15.7. But if I'm the Lamar guy, I'm usually reaching for Bateman ahead of ADP. Here goes Isaiah Likely. Yeah, Levis, the Titans stuff interests me just because I think they're going to completely change their offense. You know, them, the Falcons, the Bears, Titans, Falcons, Bears are going to throw so much more than they did last year. I'm not sure people fully understand that. I understand Will Levis may not be good, but man, if he is, like, they're going to do some things. Doesn't he has Tony Pollard here? Oh, and he has DeAndre Hopkins. So yeah, a lot of sharp people in here. Everybody's on the ball. Vidal there adding to John's Herbert stack. And you see these guys who take Mims and Franklin and, McLaughlin. You can take the Knicks back doors there. All right, coming back to me at 186 overall. Oh my gosh, I really want to know a Fant there too. I think people will start to hear more about Noah Fant in August as they've cleared out their tight end room, whereas he was rotating a lot before. I mean, he could play 80% of the snaps this year, Noah Fant, in the 16th round for a guy with his athletic ability. Really like Noah Fant in rooms like this where I get one elite tight end, and then I would have been fine with just Fant as my other one. But as played, I think I just need to take the value on Cade Otton. And, I know he had awesome playoffs. He plays literally every snap. Does Cade Otton? He's just not that good. But, I have Don Kincaid. Hopefully won't need Cade too much here. So we have 3, 4, 7, 2. Have 2 picks left. Probably want another running back. And then either wide receiver or tight end. So I have the stack options here for Kyler with Zay and Dortch. Stack option for Cousins with Rondale. Knox is a straight touchdown bet. And Jasicki stuff, I mean, you guys know about Jasicki by now. I think it's not really a tight end. He's like an oversized wide receiver. The problem is he's just so not physical. It's just hard for him to win. But man, playing with Joe Burrow could certainly do worse, I think, as part of Burrow stacks. I haven't taken Jasicki a ton on his own. Johnny one is interesting too. I mean, I have so much respect for Mike McDaniel, what he's able to do to scheme guys. So shout out to Bitcoin there. I think that's an interesting one. Johnny Smith, especially if you have Tua, which he doesn't, but yeah. So we're here in June. Picks like Jatavian Sanders scare me a little bit. There's some chance Jatavian Sanders just shows up to camp and is just not ready, and he's a 0 for a ton of the year. So that scares me a little bit. I try to be a little bit safer this time of year, but it's hard to balance that with going for max ADP value. I mean, if Jatavian Sanders starts ripping up camp in preseason games, he's getting all the first team reps, he's going to move up a ton. So some balance there. Speaking of guys who are going to move up, I do think Jalen McMillan will move up in ADP pretty soon. We recently gave him a bump in the rankings as well. All right, 2 picks left for me here. Again, I will hang out after if anybody has some questions about this or life or ETR or anything else. Happy to hang out, answer some questions from chat after this. I am indeed on deck here. There goes Jalen Hyatt. So for me, I think I'm going to be able to get one of these 3 wide receivers still. In terms of running back, Braylon Allen is the guy that everybody assumes is going to be the number 2 running back for the Jets now, one injury away. Eli Mitchell is certainly one injury away and always hurt. And CEH is the backup. I actually think all these guys are pretty interesting picks. I'll go for the upside swing here with Braylon Allen. Hopefully, one injury away from a big role if Brees Hall goes down, and maybe some standalone value for Braylon Allen too. Tolbert, I think, is an interesting one of the last round picks. Going to be out in the field a lot. I mean, Dallas is going to be very throw heavy this year, I think. I mean, I would be if my running backs were Zeke and Dowdle. And so you get Tolbert out there as a third wide receiver behind Cooks and Lamb. All right, so I do have 5 running backs now. Hate the Antonio Gibson thing. Just felt like I caught into a bad spot. But in hindsight, like maybe I should have just left Antonio Gibson and gone Braylon and one of these 2 other running backs. Certainly not the cleanest draft. Yeah, there's the Hayden Hurst pick from John, who set up a nice Chargers backdoor. And then, yeah, you saw what happened with Buffalo. You know, this is what I was talking about. Buffalo, I end up with this all the time. Allen, James Cook, which is fine, but not great. You have to reach to get Curtis Samuel, which I don't love. And that's kind of it, you know? So, yeah, that's not a reason not to take Josh Allen, though. I mean, the guy is going, I mean, he's going to score 20 underdog points a game. He's just Superman. All right, set up the Bo Nix Troy Franklin here from JBev. Last 2 round stack here, Derek Carr, A.T. Perry. Totally fine with that. And who's his first quarterback? Yeah, Jalen Hurts with these 2 quarterbacks. Like, that's probably the way I would like to play a Jalen Hurts team. I like that. Oh, man, there goes Greg Dortch. JJ McCarthy, and back to me here. Clear spot where I need wide receiver. So Zay Jones or Rondale Moore. We have Zay Jones ranked higher, obviously, for the Kyler stack. And that is going to do it for this Dalmation draft. Go ahead and check out these. I'm always interested in what people do in the last round. Yeah, Tank Bigsby, you know, was so bad last year. If he's like okay, he's going to be their second running back. I mean, they want him to win that job. Rondale Moore was one I had in the queue. Dontavez Walker, okay. CH agreed, should go in every draft. I mean, guy sucks, but he is the backup running back, clear backup running back. They're not going to bring back McKinnon. Clear backup running back for the best team in the league is CEH. So don't love the way this draft ran out for me per se. Think it's okay. Obviously, big bets on Jacksonville and Arizona. Let me see if I can just see the team here. Yeah, so 3-5-8-2, I think is totally fine. 2 tight ends when you have Kincaid, I think is totally fine. I didn't want to go 4 running back here in such a small field thing, but maybe I could have gotten away with it. I kind of doubt it, though, given Montgomery and Benson are both timeshare backs, barring injury. Wide receiver group is okay. Gonna need Trevor Lawrence to go off, obviously, for this team, I think, to advance. So that was certainly fun. Let me go back through some of the chats here. All right. All right. This is why I need a dual or even triple monitor setup, Adam. Yes, you're not wrong. Yeah, see, like guys like this, Lob, like I think Lob is going to make the team. I think he's going to have a role, but you can end up with a 0 if you take Dylan Lob now, you know? And that's like, I want to be in on Dylan Lob, but how much higher can he really go? He's going to be at best like a 2-minute drill back for the Raiders. All right. Anytime you can take the Packers special teams gunner in the 11th, you have to. Who are we talking about here? Oh, Dontavian Wicks. They have 5 wide receivers who can play. That's why it's hard. And that's why we're kind of lower than market on Jaden Reed. It's hard. Yeah, Demarcus Robinson, I like. You know, obviously, we know what Demarcus Robinson is. There's more, I prefer more ambiguity with my late picks, you know, rookies and stuff like that. but Demarcus Robinson, I think, is going to be fine. Uh, all right. Same thing with Higbee. Yeah, appreciate you, Joe. I'm in action, man. I'm always in action. I'm always down to do these. I know Michael Wilson ahead of ADP. That hurt. That hurt. All right. I did take a 20th round DJ Chark yesterday in a draft. I went for the Herbert backdoor, and I did take the DJ Chark 20th round. I don't know. Man, I gotta shout this one out. American Psycho, one of the best movies of all time. I mean, if you guys have not seen American Psycho, literally one of my favorite movies ever. Jalen McMillan equals the new Sun God. I wouldn't go that far, but yeah. Joe says, my daughter is pissed because I won't buy her a car. If I give her the cash, I'll be in deep shit. Am I the asshole? Joe, you got to raise her to not be pissed. You're not buying her a car. You should tell her to get a job. My kids ask me for stuff. My first reaction every time, they're 9 and 6. Get a job. Get a job. And last year they sold lemonade stand. Yeah. Any thoughts on Bitcoin's team? Let me see. So started 4 wide receivers. I don't love Diggs and Pickens, but generally I'm fine with that. So true 0 RB here, which on Underdog I'm not as comfortable with. So Shaheed, I probably would have gone Chase Brown here over Shaheed. And if I take Stroud here, I'm not backing it up with Burrow most likely, although I understand that he's trying to stack 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then 7 running backs. You have to do that when you go 0 RB. Yeah, I'm not that comfortable with this in half PPR, no bonuses, but this is kind of the way that I would start a hero RB team. I think it's okay. I like my chances against Bitcoin's team here, but yeah, I get what he was trying to do. Yeah, this contest is 1 of 8 advanced in week 16 and then only a 23 seat final. Sure. I mean, if you wanted to do the correlation stuff in week 16, I think that's totally fine. It's just, to me, the bigger difference is how big are the finals and how big are the advanced groups, Grizzly. I've been playing around with drafting both quarterbacks on teams with uncertain QB rooms. Any LV pit. I think that's too much opportunity cost in 18 round draft to take 2 quarterbacks from the same team. Yeah, I haven't looked at that. Actually, nobody's ever brought that up to me, but yeah, that doesn't seem great to me. Uncle Bob says, when you're stacking a team, do you need the quarterback to consider that stack, or can you have 2 wide receivers and a running back on one team to consider that a stack, make up the points at quarterback elsewhere? So that's something we talk about in DFS. It is possible. Like, let's say you have a Raiders stuff going. You have Zamir and Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers, and you're like, well, you know what? Do I really need AOC or Gardner Minshew? I can just get quarterback points elsewhere. I think my bigger point would be like, I don't want to stack teams where the quarterback is such a big question mark, because if all those guys hit, quarterback's probably going to hit too. And if you don't think that they can, to me, that's a problem. So do I still play any poker? Not much. I had to go to Vegas a couple times this year. I played a couple sessions. We just had an ETR retreat. We played a 26-man sit and go, which was a ton of fun. But yeah. Any thoughts why we're so comfortable betting on Polk over Javon Baker? Draft capital. I mean, draft capital. You can look through. It means so much. Yes. How's Silva doing? I don't want to speak for Silva, but I did speak to him on the phone a couple days ago. Sounded like he's doing great. And he expects to be back on the show, hopefully next week or the week after that. Thoughts on Brian Robinson Jr.? I always liked Brian Robinson Jr. You know, I think he's underrated as a player. I thought he played well in the pass game last year, and that was something people did not think he can do. We're checking this, we're back testing obviously on all the narrative stuff. One of the narratives is rushing quarterbacks are better for inside runners like Brian Robinson. That's the narrative. I think it's going to prove out to be a little bit true. So, yeah, I like Brian Robinson. And the big question is, do you think Eckler's done? You know, the tape last year was bad. He had the high ankle sprain. I'm like 60-40 Eckler's done, but I wouldn't rule it out because dude grinds really hard. Oh my God. Everybody's in here in the chat. Was picking out of three hole. Let's see what our friend in three hole did. CD, Neighbors, Saquon, Giant Stack, Mahomes, Worthy, Ridley, JSN. Okay, so bit of a hero RB with Saquon. I like these running backs that he took. Brock Bowers, I think, is an interesting one, man. Like, if I get into a tough tight end spot, and ideally I want to get one before Ingram goes, but the Brock Bowers one is interesting. Like, this guy is supposed to be a generational tight end prospect, and we can get him at 99 overall. If that has to be my first tight end, I'm okay with that. Yeah, set up the Polk May one. Didn't take Daniel Jones, which I like. You know, he has a bunch of Giant stuff, but didn't take Daniel Jones. So yeah, I like this team. Well done. He said he thinks he has me here. You might. You might. Shout. Is Stroud an automatic 2 QB build for me? No, not 2. And if you listen to the podcast from today that we put out, 3 quarterback performs really well. But I want to make sure all 3 are stacked. So I might do something late like Carr, A.T. Perry, or May Polk, or Rogers Corley, you know, if I have Stroud. Do I like my chances against Frank's team? Well, Frank was here too. My God. Everybody was here. I better do some of these in private so that I have a chance to actually get my guys. All right. Frank started with Brees. Yeah, if you wanted to take AJ Brown over Brees, I would not hate that at all, but I don't have a problem with Brees. Ayuk, I'm fine with. Flowers, I believe this was pretty far ahead of ADP, pretty far ahead of our rankings, but this is if you want Lamar Zay, that's like the only way to do it. So I haven't taken Zay a lot. More of my Lamar stuff is Lamar Andrews. Where did Andrews go here? But yeah, that's so hard to get if you don't go Lamar here, Andrews here, or something like that. Lamar here, Andrews here. All right, then he gets Keenan and Rome back to back without Caleb. Kamara scares me a little bit. Like, this contract stuff is so weird. I mean, he can't be asking for a raise, right? They must be negotiating a pay cut. I think they want to cut him after this year. So scares me a little bit on Kamara, but this is certainly reasonably late. Lockett, B-Rob I like, and Joku I like. Yeah, Marshawn Lloyd, Franks, of course, sniped me there. Didn't get love, but I like Lloyd and Musgrave. Yeah, sniped a lot of my picks here. Sniped Dortch. I like it, Frank. Too many pros in here, man. A lot of professionals out here these days. All right. Yeah, Uncle, he said, I won a championship with Demont and Gibbs last year, unconventional stack. Yeah, certainly that would have worked last year. I'd say they were both cheaper, right? Like Gibbs was cheaper. Montgomery was a little bit cheaper. This year, it's very expensive to have both of those. Yeah, Evan Hull was a guy I took not a lot. I took a few times last year in full PPR. Got hurt in week 1. I thought he was going to earn the pass down role and didn't. He's going to be in a fight for it this year. So we'll see. Do I worry about uniqueness in small to mid-sized tournaments? No. But that's my other thing going back to like when I like to draft, you know, especially as I get into August and September when there's way more casuals doing this stuff. I don't think I'll have to be worried about getting unique because people are going to be playing way worse than they are now. But the reason I wanted to do this Dalmation today again was because it's time boxed. You know, this is going to fill relatively soon. Big Sonny, would I take Jacobs in the 5th or wait to take Lloyd late? Depends on the team, but I have no problem with Josh Jacobs in the 5th. No problem. It's funny, man. When people get to their home league drafts, I mean, Josh Jacobs is probably going like round 2 of home league drafts. You know, it's gonna be crazy. Thoughts on a 2 QB build, 1 elite plus Drake May? Don't love that on Underdog. I guess it would depend who the elite was. If it was Allen, Hurts, Lamar, maybe. If you consider Stroud or A Rich elite, I probably wouldn't be like that. Can we explain the bullish Antonio Gibson ranking? Yeah, pass catching. I mean, in all our stuff, you'll see that running backs who catch passes, we're always going to be higher on. We're projecting, obviously, the Patriots to be trailing in a lot of games. I do think we should look at it because I do think they like Ramondre Stevenson in the pass game as well. But yeah, uh, Broken Mind says my mom is going round 2 in home leagues. I don't think that would be a very good pick. All right. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Appreciate you being here for this live stream. It's a lot of fun. I'm happy to jump on and do this anytime. If you guys enjoyed it, let us know in the comments. Also, if you do not have our best ball package yet, seemed like everybody in this draft seemed to have it because they're all playing extremely well. But anyways, $39.99, head to establishtheRun.com/subscribe. 4. Producer Steven. 4. Producer Ryan. For everyone behind the scenes on our YouTube team, indeed, be sure you are subscribed to our YouTube. We'll do plenty more stuff like this as the season gets closer. I am Adam. Good luck, everybody.